South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Good morning. Welcome in. It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Doing it a little bit differently here on a Friday. Sean, you can take the shot because normally the shot would be an empty chair. It's not an empty chair today. Well, there's one, but that's not on. You can barely even see that one.
Yeah.
Our good friend Chris Andrews, sportsbook director here at the South Point, will be with us for the whole show today. Chris, just a little bit going on this week.
Oh, is there? Yeah. I hadn't noticed. Yeah.
Just a little bit going
on.
on.
Penn State, because of course we got college hockey too.
Yes, big upset.
Good games too.
Big upset last night too. Cornell comes from behind and shocks Michigan State last night.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, that's a big one. And, you know, my daughter. Well, of course I'm a Penn State fan. My daughter went to Penn State. She also went to the University of Denver. Defending champions,
and
known they're playing today too. Yeah,
known powerhouse in hockey, the Denver Pioneers.
Yeah. Probably the best. Well, hard to say the best, but they're right up there with the best of all the programs in NCAA hockey.
All numbers available here at the South Point as well on college hockey. Number 1 overall seed Boston College is in action today, and as you said, the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, they play 5:30. I think
they're playing up in against Maine, who's the number 3 overall seed. So a little bit of a difficult
I know
draw.
Denver's a chalk today, so I wore my Penn State shirt rather than Denver's. I fear it might be the last time I'm wearing it. So.
It might be until August, Chris, for a Penn State shirt. All right, we will get to all the basketball. We'll get to our reaction to last night where, once again, in this tournament of chalk, the chalk wins outright.
Yeah.
Even though, boy, if you had an Arkansas money line ticket, you're sick to your stomach this morning. But we'll get to that all in a little bit. But we want to start with something here, Chris, because we talked about this a little bit before the show off the air, and it was the first huge day of baseball. You wanted to talk about something with how you guys are going to be doing baseball here at the South Point this year.
Yeah, that's the first thing I want to address about baseball. We did go to a 15-cent line this year rather than a dime line. And, I still look around town, and there's a couple places that have a couple numbers better than us. But overall, we wanted to keep everything on the dime and the nickel. So you won't see us laying $1.22, $1.41, that sort of thing. We're going to try and see if that helps if we keep everything on the dime and the nickel. Hard to do that with a dime line. So we went to a 15-cent line. We'll see how it goes. good or bad, that is how we are going to do it. And I still want to say, if you are looking to bet dogs, this is probably the best place, because I told them if there's ever in doubt, add that extra couple of cents to the favorite, and that way the 15-cent line isn't costing you if you're betting dogs. So we're still going to have just about the same number. Might even help in a lot of ways, because like I said, everything will be on the dime or the nickel. So we're going to try that, see how it works.
Yesterday, obviously, it was a jammed house. There was a lot going on. It was the American version of opening day, not the middle of the night one for us here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And of course, the Sweet 16. So it was great to see a Thursday, back-to-back Thursdays, obviously, just loaded up here at the South Point.
We had a great crowd, and I checked back last year, the same similar day. Our handle was way higher. So, we'll see how the line goes, and we're going to try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll switch back. What can I tell you?
Well, it's interesting because because people love whining on social media. Everyone was complaining. Or not everyone. A lot of people were complaining about the fact, it's all chalk, all blah, 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 blah. Betting handle, as you just said, is up in comparison to last year on a dissimilar day, which was opening day / Sweet 16, and the television ratings are up. And also, too, if we'll get to this in a minute, if the 4 favorites win today, we will get Ken Palm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the Elite Eight, which will be the first time that's ever happened as well. I'm not an expert. That usually means the quality of basketball is going to be pretty good if we get that, Chris.
Listen, I think it was Todd Dewey interviewed me. He says, what's it like in those Cinderellas? I said, Todd, it's great no matter what. If we get a Cinderella in there, then the public gloms onto them, and that's fantastic. If we don't get Cinderellas, then it's a bunch of teams we know a little bit more about, and that's great too. Before we move off of baseball, Jeff, I did have 2 little things we talked about yesterday. Yeah. 2 things. Baseball is hard because they play every single day, and if you're not, devoted to handicapping and following, who the pitchers are, who's in and out of the lineup, how the bullpens have become so much more important in the last couple of years. Couple little pointers that I have, and again, these are not going to make you rich. I don't want to put that out there, but they're good ways to have action. And, the one great thing about baseball is we do have action for essentially 6 months of the year. So it's if you are betting, this is a good way. Stay in action, and you'll probably do okay with these things. 2 little things I follow. One is when I was out betting baseball, and I haven't done that for a while, but you bet dogs, any home dog that won at home the day before. Very simple thing. Doesn't come with a lot of plays, but you'd be surprised. You come with about between maybe 10 and 15 plays a week. Any home dog that won at home the day before. And the other little thing that I used to watch, and I've seen it here as a bookmaker, if you're watching the screen and you see a move, whether it's on the side or a total, a good parlay. And again, don't go crazy on these. These are parlays, but you obviously don't have to hit, as big of a percentage. Home team and under, road team and over. And it's because of that extra half inning. Now, like I said, if you see a move one way or another, a move that you respect on either the total or the side, then you could correlate that parlay. And that extra half inning doesn't seem that much, but it's 1/18th. That's like 5.6%, and ask any gambler out there. If you can get a 5.6% advantage on something, that's huge. Now, I knew one guy many years ago, legendary in this town, Hungry Hal. God, I can't remember Hungry Hal's last name. But if you knew Hal, Hungry was a very good, appropriate name for him. But Hungry Hal, that's all he did was bet baseball with the side and the total. And he bet home teams and under, road teams and over. Now, Hal did a lot of work. It wasn't just watching moves. He created a lot of the moves. But that's all he did. He bet baseball. And the other 6 months of the year, he lived in Italy. So Hank did pretty good for himself. Hank was okay.
It's not a bad life, Chris.
Really?
It's not a bad life.
Tell me about it. Yeah, so 6 months.
You would pick Greece over Italy.
I would pick Greece over Italy, but Italy ain't bad. Let's say that. But that was, and that's how I kind of caught on to this parlay thing. And I booked Hal for years, and he usually beat the hell out of me. But like I said, if you don't want to do the actual work, and Hank did the work, if you don't want to do the actual work, but you see a move that you respect, and you could correlate that in a parlay. Like I said, guys, I'm not telling you right now you're going to get rich doing this, but you got 6 months of the year. I know we all like to have a little bit of action. That's probably why you're listening or watching this show. Is a good way to go without doing all that homework that it takes to be a really good baseball bettor. Just a couple things to do.
And it's a six month grind, and it's always a fight. It always the ebbs and flows of baseball.
Yeah, it's hard.
Are higher and lower than any other sport, to say the very least.
Did you see Roxy's tweet yesterday?
Oh, I did not know.
Roxy tweeted out, and matter of fact, this is a guy who happened to be a good friend of Hungry Hal. Roxy mentioned his mentor, Herbie Hoops Landbeck.
Okay.
And Herbie always called baseball the devil's game. It's not over till you get that last out. And, we see it all. There's only so many points you can come back from, although Texas Tech did a pretty good job yesterday. But, there's only so many. But baseball, they can keep scoring until you get that third out in the inning, until that ninth inning is over. So Herbie always called it the devil's game.
I don't remember who had the in order to bet baseball, you need a whiskey. You need whiskey and a revolver.
Nick Bogdanovich.
That's Nick Bogdanovich.
Another old friend of ours.
I knew it was one of the better bookmakers. I just couldn't remember if it was Bogdanovich.
Nick hasn't killed himself yet, but the season's just getting started.
Let's put it this way. He's not wrong. Let's just go with that.
I'd stay away from the revolver.
Yeah, the
whiskey is probably appropriate.
The whiskey is very much appropriate, Chris. All right, let's go to hoops. How'd you do last night, Chris?
Terrible.
Yeah. The favorites winning, but not on. Well, it's 3 favorites winning or 4 favorites winning. Duke did not cover.
Yeah, and Texas Tech didn't.
And Texas Tech did not cover.
The Duke game wasn't bad. We had good two-way action, but that money line. I mean, I'm watching the game. We got to knock out some of these as a bookmaker. We got to knock out some of these money lines, and I'm not going to tell you who else I talked to, but another bookmaker here in town. He suffered. I mean, it was amazing. We lost almost the exact same percentage. Oh, almost within like 0.2%.
Wow.
Seriously, and same thing. And then every game went over, and the one favorite that we actually really needed, was Texas Tech. And when they tied it, I says, okay, we got a chance. I know I've blown many games in overtime, needing a dog. Maybe we can get one here. And when they, I think they went up. Did they go up 4 at one point? I think they went up 3. I'm not sure.
3 was the max.
But then one more 3, and I got it covered. It didn't happen.
It was of all the games last night. The Bama BYU game was played at the pace that we expected, and Bama shattered the record for most 3-pointers in an NCAA tournament game, beating that famed Loyola Marymount team. Of course, had the record for almost
Gathers and Bo Kimball,
almost 40 years with that. With 91.
Jeez, oh man,
or 90. Excuse me. Alabama with 20. I mean, look, if Alabama goes 25 of 51 from 3, no one is beating them. Period. No one did. Yeah. They will beat anyone who they see if they do that. And, honestly, credit to BYU for hanging in as long as they did. Sure. Even though the score at the end looked pretty ugly at 113 to 88.
I don't think that was totally indicative of the game. Really.
No, it wasn't. There was one note last night, actually, with from David Warlock, who, of course, is the director of media and statistics for the NCAA, who had this from last night. The last time 2 teams each hit 100 points in the same day in their regional games was March 28th of 1992.
Jeez.
And that was an Elite 8 round where Calbert Cheney and Indiana beat up UCLA 106-79. And then there was this Duke-Kentucky game that ended in overtime 104-103. I think everyone knows that one.
What a great game. That was one of the great games of all time, of really almost any sport, really. What a fantastic game.
And then the last time, Chris, you'll like this too, the last time that 2 teams scored 100 points on the same day in the Sweet 16, we're going back to 1970.
Oh, my gosh.
Kentucky beat Notre Dame 109-99. And then for people that are out there that will probably be very confused by this.
1970?
Yes.
Okay.
The school that was a 104-103 game where the Jacksonville Dolphins.
Oh, Artis Gilmore.
Without Artis Gilmore beat Iowa 104-103.
Okay. Let me just tell you. I was at that Final Four.
Okay.
I saw Jacksonville and UCLA at Cole Fieldhouse in Maryland.
I think that's as we go through the history of results that don't make sense to people in the modern day. Just a credit to how good Artis Gilmore was.
Yeah.
Then he got Jacksonville University to the national title game.
And they had Twin Towers. They had Artis Gilmore and Pembroke Burroughs. Rex Morgan was the one guard, and Vaughn Wedeking, I can't remember which one was the point guard. And then they had like the swing guy, and I can't remember who that was. They had another guy that put in some time too, Rodney McIntyre, who a white guy with the name Rodney McIntyre.
Sure.
6'10", pretty good player too. So sometimes they would sub McIntyre in for Gilmore or Pembroke Burroughs, and that was a really, really good team. But of course, they didn't stick around long as a great team. But for a while there, they were a terrific program.
Well, and also you run into UCLA during that.
That was hard to beat.
Pretty hard to beat. By the way, talking about a Final Four that would make absolutely no sense to anybody in modern day. Of course, UCLA wins it all. All right, we could see that.
Yeah.
National runner-up Jacksonville.
Right.
Yeah, sure. The other representatives in the Final Four were New Mexico State and St. Bonaventure. Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
Of course, St. Bonnie's, how they got to the Final Four?
Go ahead, Chris.
Bob Lanier.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Lanier. But Lanier got hurt in the regional final and didn't go to the Final Four, or didn't play in the Final Four. Their center was a pretty good ball player by the name of Matt Gant, who was about 6'6". It's a big drop off from Bob Lanier.
Just slightly.
Slightly. Yeah. So, credit to St. Bonnie's for even showing up for that Final Four. But who was it? New Mexico?
New Mexico State. New Mexico State. Not even the Lobos, the Aggies, Alex Cruz.
I think it was, I want to say Jimmy Williams might have been their best player, but I can't remember. Or Jimmy Collins, maybe, something like that.
1970.
1970. I was there. My friend.
Cole
Not
Field,
on TV. I was actually there.
Old Cole Fieldhouse, which when did that venue closed? Early 2000s, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Boy.
There were a lot of memorable moments.
Another quick aside here.
Please.
Anybody that knows me and my history, with my Uncle Jack, the FBI followed my Uncle Jack, took me and my cousin Zach, and then his best friend. There's four of us at the Final Four. And the FBI showing pictures. See, here's this. This shows you this Jack Franzi guy. And the judge looks like a pretty good father to me. He's taking his two kids to Cole Fieldhouse to watch the Final Four. So that's. I think I mentioned that in my book.
All right. Looking at we got all right. You know what? We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll take a quick break. We'll let you get that settled. We get back. We'll go into all the games today right here, Sports by the Book, here at the South Point studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books, 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sportsbook, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the Racebook, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles, alongside the sportsbook director here at the South Point, Chris Andrews. Chris, we got some hoops to get to today. Yeah. And also we'll get the early look at those Elite Eight games.
Yeah, we got some action already.
Again, we got 4 favorites winning outright last night. And with the way this tournament has gone, it wouldn't shock me if 4 favorites win outright tonight. I know you want one underdog to get beat, Chris. But
I know, I just had a tweet from somebody. What did he say? All favorites for 2 years. Not sure how the lights are on. Oh. Yeah, they're on. We've had better runs than this, though. I can tell you that. But a lot of chalk.
It's been again the lack of upsets now, though, just producing. Look at these matchups.
Yeah.
In the Elite Eight. Texas Tech and Florida might end up being the worst of the four matchups, which is pretty amazing if that happens to be the case.
Unbelievable.
But we'll begin with the South region here tonight, Chris. And we'll start in rotation number order. So we'll start with the late game here. And that's the number 1 overall seed, Auburn, taking on Michigan, who just continues to find a way. It's not always pretty for the Wolverines, but here they are as a 9-point underdog in this game after surviving and advancing against UC San Diego, which I know was which was not a great result for you guys that game.
By 3, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
beating by 3 in a game that toggled between 2.5 and 3.5.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Vinny, I wanted UC San Diego to win. I wanted you guys to win at least one side of that. And then Michigan, I credit to the Wolverines. They destroyed A&M the last 8 minutes of that game because A&M was in relative control for a good chunk of that game. And then Michigan just turned it on defensively, wins that game comfortably. Actually, a rare double-digit point win for the Wolverines. Chris, you're currently at 9. The highest total tonight of 155, that total has been bet up from 151 and a half at the opener, which honestly kind of like that number better, but I understand it. And then 9 here from the opener of 8 on this one.
Yeah, so a lot of money for Auburn. But you mentioned Michigan. You go back to that UC San Diego game. It seems like forever ago, but that was a team that a lot of people were high on, including me.
Yeah.
A lot of people were high on them. And that was a great, great game. Of course, the result was not favorable for us. But nonetheless, that was a terrific game, an impressive win, I think, by Michigan. They talked about their next game. They beat an A&M team. It's a pretty damn good team, well coached, et cetera. I think Michigan's being a little bit overlooked here. This game opened 8. I thought 8 was actually a pretty good number, up to 9. Again, the bookmaker I told you I talked to earlier, who suffered the same consequences, the same fates as what we did yesterday. He says, boy, we need one of these dogs to win outright tonight between either Michigan or Purdue. We'll get to that game a little later. Those are the 2 money line parlays, Auburn and Houston, obviously. But I think Michigan has a hell of a chance here. It's a darn good team. They're playing really well. I think it's a program that sometimes, because of the success of their football program, I think we overlook how good they've been in basketball, really going back, 30 years back to the team that had even before
before the Fab Five. They won the title before the Fab.
Yeah, they won, who was Ramil Robinson?
Glenn Rice. Yeah.
Glenn Rice. So you go back a long ways. That's a hell of a program. But nonetheless, we're betting on this game here tonight, and I think there's a great chance for Michigan.
A loss that still, for the New Jersey portion of myself, still hurts. That Seton Hall one.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on it's so weird because I looked at Michigan as this team that was running on a hot streak with the amount of positive luck they've gotten where they were winning all these close games. They legitimately, again, going back to middle of January, before the NCAA tournament, they had won, or excuse me, before the Big Ten tournament, they had won one game by more than 4 points.
Is that right?
One game, yeah. I'll give you the exact number right here. They beat Washington on January 12th, 91-75.
Not a very good team, Washington.
No, not this year. Until they beat Purdue by 18 in round one, in their first game in the Big Ten tournament, their record was 9-5, with all 9 of those wins being by 4 points or less.
That's pretty incredible.
Hard to do.
You think the luck runs out at some point, but you also think, boy, they know how to win some close games.
It works both ways. And you know, I was all over UC San Diego in game one, didn't get there. I liked Michigan as the game went along against A&M because A&M was making shots they normally don't make. Usually regression will hit, and it hit pretty starkly for A&M. Michigan has the bodies to defend Broome. They have Golden, they have Wolf, they have Shetter. I just wonder if this is one of those games where Auburn, who really had to fight hard and somehow covered against Creighton in the end, that was a pretty vomit-inducing non-cover by the Blue Jays that they added. I think this is a single-digit game where if this goes to 9.5, this is a play on Michigan for certain. And even at 9, like, all right, there's only one number where I don't win if I'm taking 9 points if I think this is a single-digit game.
Who'd Auburn lose to in the SEC tournament?
They lost to Tennessee.
Yeah, another really good team. Who's probably better than Michigan on paper, but not that much better. You know, so I mean, if Michigan plays a real good game and Auburn doesn't play their typically great game, which they've been, you know, really through most of the year, you know, you think Broome could be, you know, I don't know about stopped, but he could be maybe handled a little bit. Is that, you know, kind of what you're saying? And I think that's Michigan's best chance if they could, you know, throw some defense up on him. You know, but I think there's a live dog for sure. I'm not sad that we're in this position of needing a dog, but with the points certainly. But I know we're up against it. We need an outright win. And I think Michigan gives us. We're going to talk about the Purdue game a little bit later, but I think Michigan gives us a little better chance. And by the way, the Big Ten, you know, kind of fell by the wayside a little bit as far as talking about conferences, but not that far down from the SEC and the Big 12. That's still a pretty darn good league.
Well, the Big Ten legitimately in round one went 8-0 straight up and 8-0 against the spread.
How's that?
Essentially impossible to do in this tournament. Now, again, Maryland's now gone.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if Purdue makes it past tonight, even with
I would too.
Even with a pretty nice, sizable home court for an NCAA tournament scenario against Houston.
Well, Houston's good though.
Oh, they are. We'll get to them. They are spectacular, Chris. No argument for me on that. But it is a league that again has not won a title since Tom Izzo and company in 2000.
Wow,
which is crazy to think about.
Is that right?
Yeah,
2000.
Haven't won.
Jeez,
haven't won since Tom Izzo and company.
That was just 2025. It's been that long.
Yep.
Mateen Cleaves and whoever else was in there.
Mateen Cleaves and Charlie Bell and and Mo Pete and freshman Jason Richardson.
Yeah,
Mo Pete.
But they still have, even though Maryland went out yesterday, they still got 3 teams: Michigan, Michigan State, and Purdue.
Yeah, they still have 3.
Yeah.
They still could get at least one. It could get one to the. Well, we could end up with the first ever Michigan State NCAA tournament game if the results cooperate in Atlanta for that.
Yeah.
I think Auburn wins, but I think Michigan covers the 9. That would be my favorite look. First to 15, Chris. Oh, by the way, people still love the first. People love the first.
We got
to
a lot
15.
of props. I got you know, I mean, most of them are pretty basic stuff, you know, but the first to 15, people love that one, and it's funny. Like I get. You know, Mike Gone. This was a couple years ago when we first started doing a 15. Mike Gone, Michael's son, was around, and he was up in the room upstairs, and he heard this eruption, like, you know, 5 minutes into the game. He says, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "Mike, we're booking first to 15. It's like the biggest decisions we have in the day." He says, "Oh my God, I didn't even know that." So that's fun for a lot of guys.
Also, as well, if you're on property. If you're here at the South Point, if you're up at the Mesquite Properties, Casablanca, Virgin River, or if you're up in Summerlin with our friend Dwayne Colucci, you can get minus 105 on property only at the window or at the kiosks. You can get minus 105.
Oh, by the way, let me tell you something happened last night. One of my ticket writers, and he absolutely should have known better. So the guy comes up, he bets 2 dimes, and he bets it at the minus 110 number. Nice bet. So Nick Semich back there. So Nick rejects the bet, and he's running out there to tell the guy, no, bet the 105. That's why we have it. By the time he got from his desk, the guy grabbed his money, took off. He said, they rejected my bet. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I hate that. The ticket writer absolutely should have known better. But, I hate to think there's a guy out there saying, I tried to bet 2 dimes at the South Point and they rejected my bet. No, we did. Technically, I guess we did. But actually, we wanted you to lay the 105, and the guy, unfortunately, grabbed his money and ran out of here. But that's our ticket writer's fault, and he was told about it. He should have known better even beforehand, but he was told about it. But I hate that guy being out there saying, so if you hear about we rejected a 2-dime bet, we really did not. We were just trying to get the guy to bet the minus 105.
Only available in person.
And the guy was at the counter, but he was at the far end of the counter.
He was all the way.
Nick's 40 speed isn't what it once was. So.
Oh, man. All right, to the second game in the South here. Michigan State and Ole Miss. Rebels did their best to blow that game against North Carolina in round 1, but they held on. Sean Padula bailed them out at the end, and then they really just obliterated Iowa State.
They really did.
I know that game landed 11, but that was a 20-point game for
that was over quick.
Yeah, it's a very impressive win. 13, I should say, 91-78. Very impressive by Ole Miss. And look, you can say what you want about Chris Beard, the person, but Chris Beard, the basketball coach, is one of the 5 best coaches in America.
He really is.
Should have won a national championship at Texas Tech, and his roster was so good at Texas that Rodney Terry made the Elite 8 with it. So, again, not a surprise that Ole Miss is where they are. This is a basketball program that is not used to being in the second weekend.
Right.
And now here you go against Michigan State. And it's interesting, Chris. I'm curious your thoughts here, because it feels like a lot of people I respect, a bigger segment than I would expect, really does not like this Michigan State team. They think that offensively speaking, they're very weak. They've been built on their defense, which they have been. But you're dealing with Tom Izzo here as the shortest favorite on the board in this round, by the way, of 3.5. And an Ole Miss team that, they played in the best conference. They're battle tested. They just had a very impressive win. I just like Michigan State in this game. I just think they're the much better basketball team. And I'm not buying this, hey, they're a very weak 2 seed. They've been lucky. I think they're just really good on the defensive side of the ball. And they're a well-coached team, and well-coached teams find the breaks.
Well, this game opened 3.
Yeah.
And whatever day, I can't even remember what day we opened it. And I didn't get into it a little later. But I told my crew, I says, it's 3 everywhere. If you see this thing moving up, just move it. Don't wait for a bet. Go. I hate to move on air too much, but this was one I really felt 3.5 or maybe even 5. It's kind of what my numbers came to. But maybe I'm not showing Ole Miss the proper respect. And I that 5 was probably too high. But I did tell my crew, now we got laid to 3. So if you're telling me there's guys out there that don't respect Michigan State, respect Mississippi, please come to the counter
and bet
we could use some money on Mississippi.
Yeah,
I can tell you.
Look, I'm with the money that you got, Chris.
I kind of am too. I think that's the right side. But I do have to tell you a funny story. I was with a couple of guys from Michigan. This a couple of years ago. I think 2-3 years ago. I said, boy, I think Izzo's a little overrated. Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff, I was lucky to get out of there with my life. I thought these guys were going to beat the hell out of me. He really is kind of resting on the laurels from that. 20 years ago?
Is that about 25 now.
25, yeah.
25.
2000. Yeah. I think he's a little overrated, but I think he does listen, he's always going to be really good. You remember for a long time, Dean Smith had teams that were really good until he finally broke through. I don't know if he could break through this year or not. I think he does have a chance to break through. I'm kind of with you. I think his team is really good. They are a 2 seed, so that's not too big of a shock if they go all the way. But like I said, I made this number, really from 3 to 5. That's quite a big jump. But that's what my numbers came to.
Yeah, I'm with the money you got at 3.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense.
I am too, I hate to say.
Yeah, I will say, regardless of what we get here, even though it made it like Auburn Ole Miss, if we end up getting that Elite 8, that's a bizarro world football Elite 8 that is like, wow, you don't see. I mean, well, granted,
Cam Newton and Eli Manning.
Yeah, you don't think of 2 football schools. And then, again, Michigan and Michigan State have never played in the NCAA tournament. They've never played each other.
Okay.
If that happens, obviously, Michigan State won both regular season meetings. I guarantee you I'll hear people saying the old cliche, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year, which I hate that cliche. I think it's nonsense. There's a reason that team it's very hard for the Eagles to beat the Giants 3 times in 1 year. When
wasn't that hard?
Was yeah, exactly. It's an inch. There are and this is the one good thing about having chalk down, like having a lot of chalk. And again, Ole Miss is the biggest seed remaining.
6. Yeah.
Like, we're getting in a great matchup regardless of what we get here in these games in Atlanta. And that goes for the same in the second region tonight. And we'll go there right now in Indianapolis. They are playing at Lucas Oil Stadium. And I know people will freak out about, why are we playing in a football stadium? The shooting will be different. Like, we get it. That's baked into the numbers at this point. Totals. Yeah. You've had years and years of evidence at this point, at least for the first game, more times than not, in the big domes. Now, they're not plopping it at the 50-yard line, just so you know. They're doing it old Edward Jones Dome style, where they cut the building in half, and it's going to be about 30,000, equivalent of about 30K will be in there for the Luke. This is the late game tonight, Purdue and Houston. Now, Houston did not get a favor from the committee in the way of the teams that, with the chalk prevailing. Purdue's a little over an hour drive. Tennessee, Kentucky's not a little less than 3 hours, and Tennessee's a little less than 5.
Yeah.
And those fan bases travel for basketball, as they travel for everything except football, Purdue football. But that's a different discussion for a different time.
If you want my heartbreak to break for Houston, you got the wrong guy.
Oh, trust me. I know, Chris.
Yeah, okay.
And mine doesn't either. My whole take is, I think Houston's significantly better than all 3 of these teams. Handle your business.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
With this. So people don't really care about the home court, the quote unquote home court here. It's got bet from 7.5 to 8.5 on this game.
Yeah.
And the totals, I'm fascinated by this. The total's been bet up 2 points.
Yeah, it's very slight for us. Very, very slight. Yeah.
So 132.5 to 134.5 on this one, Chris.
Yeah. I think we moved a little quick because just so many of these games have been going over. And under might help a little bit on our parlay situation. I'm just not sure how good Purdue is. I don't know. They've shown some flashes at times of being a pretty good team. What's their seed? Are they a 4?
They're a 4.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably about right where they needed to be, but I don't think they're all that great. I really probably gun to my head. I would probably take Houston in this game. I moved it quick. They laid me 7.5. I had like a dribble of money at 8, and I said, the hell with it. I'm going 8.5. I just think the higher number is a better number here.
I think for Houston, and this has been my take with this region the whole way through, I thought the winner of Houston-Gonzaga is the winner of this region.
Okay.
Period. Yeah. And Houston, they held on for dear life at the end, but they won the game.
They won, yeah.
And a game where, look, in the past, if you told me, hey, there were 157 points scored in a Houston-Gonzaga game in the NCAA tournament, 8 in the past, it'd be 9 times out of 10. Houston's on the wrong side of that.
Right.
And they were on the right side of it. And this is why, like, again, I know it's funny. Like a few weeks ago, I was like, or I guess it was probably 5 weeks ago where I said to you, Houston's kind of slid under the radar here. And you're like, no, they haven't.
Not under my radar.
Not under your radar. But it's almost like for me, like they've been disrespected because of their lack of tournament success. because they've been, look, Sampson's had basically a top 15 team now since the pandemic, basically. Yeah. Every single year, they're a top 15 quality team, and they have one Final Four appearance. They've lost as the better team multiple times in the NCAA tournament. This team is much different, though, because they can shoot the basketball. They're still the best defensive team in the country to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And again, this Purdue team, I haven't really bought them all year. I thought they were solid. I never thought they were great. I thought they should have probably been Michigan's 5, and Michigan should have been their 4. But whatever, both teams are here in this round anyway. But in the end, I just think the Cougs are too much here, Chris. I really do.
Yeah, you did say that, I guess, 5 weeks ago. And
5-6 weeks ago.
That was not under my radar. I've been watching Houston, and I have to say, I think Kelvin Sampson is a really, really good coach. I really do. It kind of bugs me, and I do understand what people were saying about him. He hasn't won the big games, and blah blah blah. I hear the same thing like about Rick Barnes. You get that same thing. It's hard to win these games. I mean, you got to give these teams credit. I mean, we look at certain guys like, Krzyzewski obviously had a great run, but don't forget, for a long time, people knocked Krzyzewski because he got to the Final Four and didn't win a championship. Bobby Knight, we think about how great he won, 2 championships or 3? 3 championships. So he lost a lot of them too along the way. I mean, it's hard to win these games. It really is. Did we get spoiled by Johnny Wooden, who won like every freaking year? Yeah. But I mean, it's hard to win. You look back, go any great, Dean Smith. Denny Crum. I mean, I'm naming some of the all-time greats. It's hard to win these games.
Well, even just if you want to go more recently, I mean, Jay Wright got destroyed his whole career. Yeah. Like, you've had all this talent, you've only made the Final Four one time, and then he wins 2 out of 3.
2 in a row. Yeah,
and,
2 out of 3.
And the 2018 team was one of the better teams of the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So, look, that's always the case. You are the choke artist, not as good as the elite of the elites until you win one of these.
Yeah.
And look, for this pod, you mentioned Barnes. We'll get to that game in a second. Like, if it's Houston and Tennessee in the Elite 8, one of those guys who's never busting through and won it is going to the Final Four. And look, they'll have their hands full regardless. Well, that's the one thing with all the chalk. Everyone's going to have their hands full once they get to the Final Four this go.
Tell you, it's hard. John Thompson, how many championships did he win? I think one. And he's considered a great coach. I'm just telling you, it's hard to win. It's hard to win. So I think Kelvin Sampson is a terrific coach, as good as anybody. And you're talking about one game, one and done. Anything. I mean, you've been watching sports your whole life. I'm going to be 69 years old. I've been watching it my whole life too. one game, a lot of crazy stuff can happen. A lot of it.
Well, let's go to the SEC matchup. That's the earlier game in Indianapolis tonight. Yeah. And quite frankly, Chris, this is the game that I am the most confused by today.
Really? It's the one game that hasn't moved at all.
And you know what? That makes sense to me. Because
the total moved a little bit.
We got a lot of weird things going on here in this game. You don't see conference matchups in a Sweet 16 very often. No. And you almost never see it when it's a 3v2. Usually it's like, a 10 seed popped an upset and you get a 3 versus a 10 or a 6 versus a 2. You almost never see this, but because when 14 teams from one conference make it, you're going to have to do this.
Chances are a lot better. Yeah.
So, Chris, Kentucky won both matchups this year. They won them both. And they were won in weird styles more so than anything. The games were played closer to Tennessee's style, sub-70 possession games. But the first game that Kentucky won was 78-73. That's a lot of points for a 67 possession game. And then the second one was 75-64, a little bit more normal for a 64 possession game. But still, first game went over. Second game, I forget where that total closed. I think it was right around, it closed 140. So right on at a 139. We get to go the old cliche with this one again. Hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. It's nonsense, especially in this spot. I advanced Kentucky in my bracket, but that was because I didn't want to have 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 more than anything, right. Chris.
I understand.
I don't know. If you told me Tennessee put the clamps on them and they finally got through and they were good enough offensively to win this game and cover, wouldn't shock me. If you told me Kentucky beat them for a third time because it's a bad matchup for Tennessee,
could be,
wouldn't shock me one bit. This is of all 8 Sweet 16, all 8 Sweet 16 games. This was the one I was most confused by, Chris.
Well, I guess I'm with you because I think 4.5 is a great number. I have no opinion. I think 4.5 is a terrific number, and whatever they want to do with it is, we'll live with the results. I do think Tennessee is probably a better team on paper, even though they lost twice. Like they say, games aren't played on paper; they're played on TV sets. So,
yes.
This is going to be a tough matchup for both these teams. Know each other pretty well. I think Kentucky, and Vinny follows them pretty closely because his wife's from Kentucky, so I think he's kind of become a Kentucky fan. I know they had some injury issues during the course of the year, and they seem to be pretty healthy right now. Maybe that indicates that this number might be a shade high, but I have no trouble with the 4.5 in this game. And Jeff, I'm kind of with you. I guess I don't know. I wouldn't know which way to go, and probably just flip a coin. Or this might be the kind of game that you want to watch the in game and see if you can detect anything early on to go with one trend or another. But I think it's going to be a terrific game, and probably Kentucky will have a few more fans in the stands, but probably not that many more because Tennessee's had a good program for a long time too, as well as Kentucky has.
I think the way I would play this is I would take the plus price on Kentucky first to 15. I think
there you go. Okay.
I think that would be the only way.
You're going to empty out on that, huh?
Well, that would be the act. Like if we're looking for action in this game, from my end, that would be the only way that makes a little bit of sense to me. This is a great in-game game because I think you're going to be able to tell.
You think so?
I think you're going to be able to tell what version of Tennessee's offense will show up in this game. Mm-hmm. That's more than anything. That's. I think we'll tell the tale here. We know Tennessee will defend. We know Kentucky will show up, at least offensively, just a matter of what their looks are. Kentucky's defense, a little bit questionable. Tennessee's offense, even though it is efficient, has those games where they just can't make anything. I think we'll be able to see what version of Tennessee's offense we get. If it's a good version, UT wins. If it's not, Kentucky wins. I think it could be something along those lines, but I don't know what they were getting in this game, and that's why your number's so good. Yeah,
I mean, if we're even on this game, I got to be honest, I'll probably root for Rick Barnes just because I think he's been unfairly knocked over the years, and I'd probably root for him because of that. Plus, I could bust Vinny's chops a little bit, too.
A little bit.
There's young Vince back there. I always tell him the best bourbon comes out of Tennessee.
Oh,
Jack Daniels.
Man,
that lights him up. That lights him on fire right there.
Man, you playing with fire.
I know how to press that button.
So, Chris, let's look at these Elite Eights that are already up real quick because obviously they're fresh. Action. We'll start with the earlier game, which is the second game in the rotation numbers, which is Florida and Texas Tech. I mean, you don't see sevens in a 1-3 game very often, and it's 7. You got bet up to that 7 as well. 157 the total, and that's the low total, by the way, folks, on the Saturday Elite Eight games. I mean, that feels like a ton of points. I mean, you're going to tell me that Texas Tech and Maryland are the same in the power ratings, which is what, Maryland closed 7.5. I would have expected Texas Tech to come like a 2-3 point favorite in a potential regional final against Maryland. Kind of like the Red Raiders getting all these points, and I'm curious to see how the market goes on this one, Chris.
So far, it's been Florida, but I got to say, I've been saying for a while, it looks like Florida and Duke are on the collision course to meet in that final game, and they can meet. I probably, going through my numbers this morning, I still had Duke about a 2-point favorite. I think that would be a pretty good number. I don't think I'd be too anxious to bet either one of them. But, the money showed on Florida. I thought the opening number was good, and some guy with a lot of money evidently thought otherwise. We'll have to see how that one goes. But, I can almost guarantee I'm going to be rooting for Texas Tech in that game. It just probably to win outright, and I don't know if they can do that. But that's a tough team and well coached. And I was watching mostly the Duke game yesterday. I went home to watch the second halves, so I was watching the Duke game, but I had my eye on the other one, and I almost had signed off that Arkansas was just going to blow them out and win whatever. And then I just kept seeing Texas Tech keep creeping back in. Well-coached team with good athletes. That's a good team.
Texas Tech outscored Arkansas in the last 10 minutes of the second half, 27-11.
Wow.
To force overtime, and then they won it at the end. Again, I hated how Arkansas executed the end of regulation and the end of overtime. They have the ball's in the wrong guy's hands.
Yeah.
And as good of a player Wagner is, Janelle Davis scored 30 points in that game and has a lot of fortitude per se. But look, credit Texas Tech. They were out of that game They looked totally done. I mean,
probably
down 16.
most of the game, even from the first half.
I mean, they were down 20-11 or 20-9, I should say, right out of the gate. But credit to the Red Raiders. But 7's a lot of points to be getting with a really good team. Also, I want to monitor Condon's ankle injury. He came back and played.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Yes.
I want to see like how
he looked good coming back. Though.
He looked good enough.
Yeah.
I just wonder though if now that sits for 48 hours, how does that?
That could go either way.
It could be much better, or he could look like Cooper Flagg, who didn't even look like he got hurt.
Yeah.
Or it could go the other way on that.
And he played a pretty good game too, by the way.
That Cooper Flagg guy, someone texted me this, and I think they're a little bit off that Cooper Flagg has a chance to push Larry Bird as the best white American basketball player in NBA history. Well,
let's be careful.
Which I was like, all right, let's slow down.
Yeah, let's be careful.
Let's slow down.
I will say one thing, and again, I hate to get racial, but a lot of times white guys, you don't think they're that quick. Cooper Flagg is quick.
Cooper Flagg is incredible, and keep in mind he's only 18. He wasn't even eligible to be on the Naismith Awards betting markets until he turned 18.
Is that right?
Yeah. So crazy.
Yeah, he's got a lot of talent. The kid is just, physical talent, and he's really put it all together. It's amazing for an 18-year-old kid. I'd slow the roll on the Larry Bird thing.
That's tough. That's tough to say the very least.
By the way, I think yesterday might have been the anniversary of Larry Bird going up to Portland, and he played he was going to play the Lakers 2 days.
Was that the left-handed game?
The left-handed game. What did he score? Oh, only 46. And he played left-handed because he was bored and he wanted to save his right arm for the Lakers.
Oh my God, that's. He only had you shortchanged him. He had 47 points.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You don't want to shortchange him on that, Chris. All right. The other game on Saturday night, and look, what a gift this game's going to be. Bama and Duke. Look, again, this is the one good thing about the lack of upsets. These Elite Eight games are monsters. They're monsters. Bama was the number one team in the country for a little bit this year. Duke is the power-rated number one team.
They're my number one team.
And they should be the power-rated number one team. They've been a dominant force. I don't care that the ACC was not good this year.
They were down, yeah.
They took all takers pretty easily for the most part this year. My big concern in this game, by the way, Duke is 6.5. That just shows how good they are, that they're sick, that Bama can be that big of a dog against anyone. Total's 173.5, which is, look, yesterday's BYU-Alabama total went over with 9.5 minutes to go.
Well, it's funny. So, like this morning when we were opening the numbers, now they opened without me and I came in. I said, geez, 174. That's a big number for a college game. And Ashley back there, she goes, are you crazy? Did you see what Alabama scored yesterday by themselves? I said, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. I got a bet on, I think, what are we at now, 173.5?
Yeah, 173.5.
Yeah,
you got to bet on the under.
Somebody did bet me under, yeah.
So here's all I'll say. If Bama shoots like they did yesterday, which was 21 of 51 from three, 25 of 51 from three, which is just sick.
Sure.
They will not lose to anybody that's left in this field. Now, is anyone capable of shooting that well from three back-to-back games, especially when
you talked about regression earlier?
Regression to the mean, and also more importantly, I think even more than regression here, BYU's defense is in the 70s. Duke, defensively, is number 5 on KenPom. And again, they were also, the best scoring team in the country, the best defensive scoring team. They're amazing on both sides of the ball. I probably will end up being on Bama plus the points, but look, you could get very easily stomped here. Bama has a game where they go 13 of 45 from three, and then, that's 39 points from three. That's usually pretty good, but in a game like this, that's not going to be enough against Duke.
Not with a total of 174 or 173 and a half. Listen, we talked about it. We're down. We might have the 8 best teams in the country playing after this round. And, I think Duke is at the top of that pyramid. But, I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to be rooting for Alabama in this game, but if not with a point, certainly outright. Because right now, like I said, it looks like Duke and Florida just on that collision course, and I don't see anybody that's going to stop them. But, Jeff, we talk about it all the time. It's sports. And one game, one and done, I make it happen so easily with a Bama team. If they come out and they shoot 50% from 3, they're going to be hard to beat. I can tell you that. So, I mean, what were they? Just under 50% yesterday. Is that what it was?
25 of 51.
So it's pretty darn close.
Pretty darn good.
50%.
Pretty darn good. 113 points in an NCAA tournament game. Usually that's reserved for when you're playing the 15 seed. Which,
right, yeah.
Hey, the 15 seed gave them a pretty darn tough game in Robert Morris.
They sure did. Yeah.
Made this Robert Morris alum proud.
It sure did. Absolutely. We were very proud with that game.
He should have been. I mean, that was a 2-point game with 7 minutes to go.
Coach Virginik was on. He was pretty proud, too. I don't blame him. We texted after that, so yeah.
All right, Chris. By
the way, they named the floor after Matt Virginik.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. And Andy Toole can coach, by the way.
Andy Toole did that.
Kind of surprised.
I hope he sticks around a year or two.
So before we get out of here, baseball-wise, I just want to Chris already mentioned the way that things will be done earlier in the show. If you missed that, go to the first 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
Chris gives a full explanation of a little bit of a difference in how you guys are doing baseball. But like you said yesterday, Chris, and I know it's only one day and I know it's opening day, but people are still lining up and betting the American pastime yesterday.
Handle was significantly higher over the same day last year. So, I mean, I hope that's a good sign. I hope guys can understand. Like I said, the dog prices, you're going to get about the same price on the dogs. A couple things we want to mention in hockey before we move on.
Please, yeah.
Okay, 2 things. First of all, Sidney Crosby made sure that this year he scored enough points. He'll average at least 1 point per game for the entire year. It's the 20th year in a row that he will do that. Breaks Gretzky's record of 19 years in a row. So good for Sidney. I think he's been just a great ambassador for the game. Certainly a great ambassador for Pittsburgh. And as a Penguin fan, I couldn't be more proud of having him on our squad. The other thing, I think I'm dead serious. I think it was the classiest thing I may ever have seen in the world of sports. Alex Ovechkin, who has been going against Fleury his entire career. And I got to say, I've never been an Ovechkin fan, obviously, because I'm from Pittsburgh and we had to play the Capitals many times. And he's a great, great player. So I've rooted against him for many years. But at the end of the game yesterday against Minnesota, he made sure, and there were guys in the locker room or heading to the locker room. He pulled them all out and they had like a handshake line. He made sure, Ovechkin did. He made sure that everyone was there to shake Marc-Andre Fleury's hand, which presumably is going to be the last game that he ever faces that team. What a classy move from 2 great competitors. 2 guys are going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. And I give Ovechkin a ton of credit because, like I said, these were competitors for a long time. What have I been rooting against Ovechkin for 18 years
at
or
least,
something like that?
Maybe longer.
Yeah, maybe longer. And, Fleury's been, a nemesis. I'm sure has blocked many of Ovechkin's shots over the years. But he made sure of that, and I thought, ultimate class. And I've been around athletes. I got to say, hockey players, probably my favorite athletes as human beings. And
very classy.
And there's some whack jobs out there,
sure.
too.
Well, that's life, Chris.
That's life. Yeah, exactly. But overall, I think hockey players are pretty classy guys.
Chris, before we go here today, again, this is always one of the most fun times of the year, if not the most fun. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone who was upstairs last week.
Yeah.
Sure. The party last week was incredible. Those first 2 days are as fun of a 13-hour period that we'll have all year, to be honest with you. And Even though, whatever, it wasn't as much carnage as we're used to. It was still an amazing time. So shout out to everyone who was a part of that, or if you came out, you made it a great environment up there, as it always is, and we appreciate you coming down, and I appreciated everyone who
a lot of fun.
was out there. It was a lot of fun. And I also appreciate the guy who made the half court heave that hit the shot clock. That was a huge controversy up there.
No good. I know.
It's a huge controversy.
Yeah, if we're in the NCAA, it's no good. But we make our own rules here at the South Point. So
it was pretty funny, the chaos that ensued from that. But credit to everyone. They found another cooler, so they were able to do the promotion for a little bit longer.
All right. That's good.
Really good on that. All right.
Thanks to the guys.
That's all we got.
Yep.
Jerry, Vince, Drew, Doug, Sean, Ryan made it to Cubs opening day last night.
Did he really?
He did.
Did he?
He was in Arizona, so it wasn't too far off.
Hey, Vince, make sure you tell your dad what I said about the bourbon.
just poking the bear.
I love poking that bear.
Oh, man.
I wouldn't say it to your mother. I would say it to your dad, though.
We got, actually, you know what? That's good. Thank you, Vince, for reminding me. So, Chris, we've been doing this, doing trivia questions now on the show.
Shoot.
I'm going to ask you because it's already been decided in the chat, and JR, of course, won, which.
Oh, I haven't heard the question.
But it's okay. Who are the only 3 major league players to hit a cycle in both leagues?
Oh, man. Both leagues.
Good luck. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I'm going to go with Frank Robinson.
I'll tell you after you guess your 3.
Okay. See, Frank Robinson. Oh, my God. I'm probably stuck after that.
No. Let's put it this way. I'll cut you off right there. None of them are Hall of Famers.
None of them are Hall of Famers.
None of them.
Oh, my God.
Now, they're all pretty good players.
I would think.
But they were never Hall of Famers.
Dick Allen?
Nope.
Oh, my God.
Do you want me to tell you? We might.
We might be here till 10 o'clock
So
tomorrow
here you
morning.
go. So I'll go from the most recent to the first one.
Okay.
The most recent to do it was Michael Kadire.
Oh, okay.
Who did it with the Twins in 2009, and then with the Rockies. Totally forgot he played for Colorado in 2014.
Okay, good player, yeah.
You know what? Kind of stunned that he had enough foot speed to get a triple, and that's kind of going to be the theme with the next one. But look, Kadire, Coors Field's monster ballpark. The dome was you always could get some funky stuff in there.
Yeah.
So Kadire did it. John Olerud.
Oh, wow.
Well, I never would have guessed because Olerud couldn't really run.
No.
Did it with the Mets in 97 and then with the Mariners in 01.
God, yeah.
Olerud, who, again, very good player.
Very, very good,
and hung around forever. But
he was a hell of a player.
Great glove, great bat.
Yeah.
And then the last one to do it, the first one to do it was Bob Watson.
I could have been here for 100 years.
Did it with the Astros and the Red Sox. 77 and 79.
Man, I could have been here 100. And that's my wheelhouse, the 70s baseball, but I wouldn't have come up with that.
Yeah, Bob Watson, again, was a 2-time All-Star with the Astros in 73 and 75. So another good player as well. JR, congratulations on the good Googling for JR today on that one. All right, that's all we got for you. Frank is here at noon on Punchlines. This is our only Sports by the Book show today, so we're back tomorrow morning, 8:30 in the morning. I will be here. Hopefully, we'll have Jim Root at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So that will be on the lookout for that with an Elite 8 preview on the show, and also the first full Saturday of baseball in the 2025 season. Chris, thank you as always.
No early baseball on Saturday either.
Yeah, the earliest game is at 3:00 Eastern. I don't know why. Again, I don't know what Manfred's doing. Remember, Chris, it's not like it's not cold in some of these spots in March. Ridiculous.
Don't get me started.
We'll see you next time. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.